Hi everybody, Chris Petri here, and we're going to create another beautiful oil painting. We're going to paint flowers this time. You're going to have a lot of fun doing this. We're going to explain everything. The colors that we're going to mix are kind of not quite a limited palette, but you'll see that we did mix up some good greens, some dark greens, some olive greens, some bluish greens. We did a lot of beautiful colors with the kind of that peach color and some violet color, the purple and yellow, lemony yellow. So we kind of made this painting a really beautiful pastel-y kind of look to it. Good shadows, good light. We had fun. We talk about how we're just going to have fun with our brush strokes and really create more of a impressionistic type painting versus trying to create something that looks like very close to reality. We want to have fun with our brush strokes, from the colors, the paints. We're working right from this photograph here I have on my cell phone. This I took right across my studio. I have a table set up with a spotlight over the top. I just put some flowers in a small mason jar. So I took a picture of that. We put it right here on camera. And then once we get started, you'll see that we're going to have our paints on the left-hand side over here, our painting in the center, and then our camera, our phone over here, and our reference photo over on the right-hand side. So you'll have everything at your fingertips here. We're also going to show you how we're going to sketch this out right in the beginning with some charcoal just to get some lines down. We'll get the vase in quick with a few outlines of some flowers, and then from there we just get right into the painting, so we don't do a lot of preliminary drawing, just enough to get the idea of where everything has to be in the frame of our composition. So this is the rectangle, and we matched what we see here. We matched that and put it right in the same, pretty much the same type of layout and inside the rectangle here. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. Let's get ready and get started. All right, so we just saw the finished painting. We're working in oils. We're just enjoying ourselves here. We're gonna mix up some beautiful colors. We'll do a quick charcoal sketch with some charcoal here. We have General's charcoal, and we're just going to do a very, very basic, fun flower painting in oils. So let's get started. I'm using this picture here from my phone. This is a small mason jar with some flowers in the jar across from me on my art table. I have like a small art table across from my painting table here that I work at for my videos. So we're just going to take a real simple approach to this. Let's just get the basic idea of things in, and we'll just have some fun with the paint and the brushes and the colors. It's kind of actually, as we look at this, it's very actually a limited palette, very, very kind of like a monochromatic almost look to this. We have some greens, some white yellows, some like light yellow, cream kind of color for the flower petals, the greens for the flower, for the leaf forms. We have some, I can see some reds, some yellows, some pinks in the background for some shadowing and some of the background colors. So it's kind of, we'll see how it goes, but I think we don't have to really work with a tremendous amount of colors on this one. I think we can kind of keep the color scheme quite subdued. And let's start first by just getting some charcoal sketch in here. Well, let's take a look at this photograph here. And we can kind of see that we're just going to take this photograph and basically almost like trace it onto this. We're not going to trace it, but we're almost the same size here. We can almost make everything about the similar size. So, you know, we could just say here, you can always scale things, and you can take a small paintbrush or something like that. A small, you could use a ruler if you want to measure it. You know, I could take my my paintbrush here and just say, okay, if I put that on the top of the rectangle here, and I look at where the flowers start, it's about right in between those two numbers, those sequence of numbers on the handle. So if I come over here and I kind of start a little bit lower on the edge from the edge of this canvas, it's about there. So I can take my charcoal and make a mark about there. That'll be the top of the flowers, approximately. And then I could come up from the bottom and say, wow, yeah, that mason jar is right below the bottom of the canvas here. So I can just do a quick little mark on the, like that, a quick mark there, a quick mark here for the first flower there. And we can also measure and say, well, how tall is the mason jar compared to the flower arrangement? So if we say the flower arrangement in the bottom of the jar are here, about halfway is the top of the mason jar. So if we just go halfway between the top flower up here, right there, and the bottom of the mason jar, halfway is the top of the mason jar, like that. So now we have the top of the mason jar, like this. We have the flowers and leaf forms, bottom of the mason jar. So now we are pretty much, we have a really good preliminary layout of our composition here. Next thing we'll do is we'll just kind of gently get in our mason jar. You can just kind of draw that in like that. Maybe get the basic cylinder shape. It's kind of like a cylinder first. And actually it does pretty much come straight up. There's no real tapering to this. It's pretty much just straight vertical for both sides. Vertical, both sides for the vase, or for the mason jar. And then we're not going to see the back of the mason jar, but that would be about where the mason jar is, like that. And then we'll just start to make some leaf forms here. So we'll just take these, our charcoal, and just make a couple leaf type shapes. And then as we get up here, we're going to start to see the flower shapes there. And there's some twigs and vines and things like that. So we're going to capture those. And then over here, there's a rose, a white rose. And another white rose here, a smaller one there. Another flower there. So I'm just kind of looking at it, and there's another flower there. So I think that's pretty much it. I think we have the simplified version of that drawing. We're not going to really draw a lot. We're just going to put a couple indications of things with our charcoal, and that's all you really need to do. There's no reason to really suffer over doing all kinds of details with the charcoal, because the charcoal is not really like a pencil. It's just meant to, you put down your indications of where things are and do a little sketching, but that's it. And then, maybe a couple details like this just to show the top portion of the mason jar there. And there's all kinds of leaf forms and smaller flowers there in the top of the jar. We have the table in the background here. We could put that across like that if we want. A little bit of a shadow over here, so we kind of have a shadow there. We'll see the back of the mason jar like that, or the bottom of the mason jar like that. You can kind of see the curvature. It's a clear glass jar, translucent clear glass jar, so that'll be easy in a sense to just kind of put a little detail according to what we're seeing here on this photograph. And this is really, I think, it. I'm not going to get into the metal clasps there's some metal banding around the mason jar there to keep the lids on tight. So I'll just kind of use this preliminary drawing here with the charcoal, and I won't really get into that much detail with that. And I think we can make a couple more indications of a few more twigs and vines. There is another bit of leaf forms up here that kind of reach up this way from the flower arrangement, and that's good. So now we have that. Once you do your charcoal drawing, maybe it's just a good time to just take a quick break, 5-10 minutes, relax for a few minutes, relax the mind, If you're standing up, maybe you'll sit down. If you're sitting down and working, you might stand up and stretch a little bit. You get your favorite beverage, some coffee, some tea, some water, whatever you like. And maybe at this time you could also, if you have to do some errands or you have to do something, a chore of some sort, or, have to make a phone call, whatever it is, you could do that at this point and take a break. And then you come back when you're kind of finished, or if you just want to stretch a little bit for 5-10 minutes, or like I said, you can really break up your artwork, your compositions and your paintings. You can break them up into like sessions where you might say, I'm going to do the charcoal one day, the sketch, and then the next day I'm going to come in and I'm going to start painting it. Or you might say, I'm going to do everything at one time. You're the artist. You'll decide on how you want to create your artwork. Sometimes you might want to, again, just, or sometimes you might have something to do. You're very busy and you can only get your charcoal drawing done, and then you have to go and you have to take care of some things or do something. You have some kind of obligation you have. So that's fine. You just come back the next day or the 2 days from that time that you've sketched, and you can just start painting over that when you have the time. So always work your artwork into your schedule, and you don't feel like you have to just ignore things that you have to do, or you work it around your schedule, and that's it. But I'm here. My dedication is to making videos for you, for everyone, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to keep working through this. I'm going to take a 5-10 minute break, and then I'll be right back, and we'll start the painting portion. We'll put our paints out on the wax paper here, and we'll get going. All right, so let's begin putting our paints out. We have Artisan brand, Winsor & Newton Artisan water mixable colors. So that's going to be our color choices here and our line of oil paints. So Artisan is water mixable oil color, and I always really advocate using water mixable oils, especially if you're at the beginning of your journey doing some oil painting and you're just starting out as a beginner, or if you've been working for maybe 6 months or a year in oil painting. I always suggest starting out with the water mixables. They're very user-friendly. If you get some on your clothes, on your furniture, it's non-toxic. You can wash everything up with soap and water. So if it gets on your hands, on your clothes, on your furniture, whatever it is, it's not a problem. Soap and water cleans up with soap and water. And you can rinse your brushes off in just plain water as you're working. So you can, that's a kind of you have the peace of mind of not worrying about using like turpentines and things like that, toxic, chemicals and solvents and things. So I just think it's ideal. So if you are kind of just starting out in oil painting, you're at the right place at the right time. We're going to use water mixable. It's pretty much the same as watercolor as far as the paint and water goes. You can mix a little bit of water into your paint if you need to thin down your paint a little bit. And again, you can rinse your brushes off with the water, just like watercolor. I think some acrylics are water soluble too. So some people, if you're used to acrylics, maybe you've worked in acrylics or watercolor, then you kind of will be used to the process. So that's not a big deal. I don't want to go too much into more detail about that, but just rest assured it's safe. A little bit of water and soap and water cleans up things. Your hands, towelettes, wet, moist towelettes, hand wipes and things like that. You clean up your hands really fast, and then you don't have to worry about much other than that. So the colors I'm going to use here, I'm going to probably use the warm colors, like the earth colors. So we're using burnt umber, yellow ochre, and we'll mix into some cad yellow and cad lemon yellow. We're going to need greens, so we will use the blues. So we're pretty much going to put most of our colors out that we have in our Artisan watercolor set. And I think it's a set of 10 paints. So that's 5 there and 5. Yeah, I think it's 10 altogether that come in the set if you buy the set of 10. And then I also bought an extra large tube of white, Artisan titanium white, because we use a lot of white. I'm almost out of white already. And I've got lots of other colors still, full tubes, but we use a lot of white when we're painting in oils. So you'll notice that you'll probably be a great investment to just purchase a large 200 milliliter Artisan white, titanium white, so that you have plenty of extra white. You're always going to use a lot of this. So let's get started. The first thing I usually do is I usually put my white out up here. at the top like this, and I'll just get this. I'll probably use up the rest of this tube like that. Okay, so that's the, I might have to zoom out a little bit like that. And what I'll do is I'll move this a little closer. I use a palette knife along with my brushes. So you'll notice I use brushes and palette knife. Sometimes I'll use the palette knife just to mix the colors. Other times I'll use the palette to actually work inside the painting. It all depends. I just kind of go by feel. And that's about it really for my brushes, or hog hair brushes. We'll show you those in a few seconds. And I have an apron on so that I can sometimes quickly wipe off my hands on my apron, or if I have to do a quick cleanup or something. And also my apron helps when I'm taking off the caps to the tubes. And then usually I will go with warm colors at the bottom, and usually I'll do the same setup usually every time. I'll usually put some blue at the top and burnt umber, because that is really my main go-to combination for darks. So if I'm going to make some darks, usually it's burnt umber and French ultramarine blue. So that's kind of like I use a lot of burnt umber and French ultramarine blue in my watercolor paintings as well as my oil paintings. So I put those right at the top because I know that's where I'm going to create my darks from, right there on the top. This is my white. We have that all set. Looks good. Then we take our warmest colors of all and we put those, I'm going to start those at the bottom here. Like that. And I leave myself some room. And I kind of look at this and I say, we're not going to use a lot of red really. We'll use a little bit of red, alizarin crimson. I don't think I'm going to use any cadmium red, so I'm going to leave cadmium red. I'm not going to put any cadmium red out. I definitely am going to use all my blues. But before I put my blue out, let me get my 3 earth colors here. We have yellow ochre. Definitely going to use that. And lemon yellow. I don't think I'll use any cadmium yellow. I think I'll just use the lemon yellow possibly. Maybe I'll use a little bit of cadmium yellow. That's cadmium lemon yellow, or lemon yellow. That's cadmium yellow. It's got a warmer color, a warmer hue to it. It's got more red in there, red in the yellow. And then let's go with our blue, cerulean blue. And I think the last thing we're going to use would be the phthalo green, which we only usually put out a little bit. It's very strong and goes a long way. And I think that's it. We have enough color out on our palette. I'll put my paints over to the right-hand side on my art table over here to the right. And again, I'm using the hog hair brushes. And I have a variety of them. So I have some filberts, which are kind of like the rounded edges. And then we have some round brushes and some filbert brushes and a flat brush here too. So you'll see we just use a mixture of these, as well as the palette knife. Like we said, we use the palette knife as well. That's about all you need is, a couple brushes. And this is not a very, very large painting, so we can use these smaller brushes here. That's fine. You don't need large brushes if you're going to work in this format. And this is about a 5x7, I would say. And I can check that for you in just a second, so we kind of know about the size of our canvas here. And that is a 6x8. So we have a 6x8 canvas. And we're going to begin by, I'm going to prime the canvas actually with a very, very light bit of gold and red and a little bit of purple. So I think we're going to mix a little bit of color here. So let's do this. Let's think to ourselves, let's put a nice, very, very extremely thin glazing of oil paint. Thin paint here on this to give us that background color. So you can do this beforehand too, even before you do your drawing. You can prime your canvas and let it dry 3 or 4 days until it's dry to the touch with this first primer that we're going to do. Or you can do it now while we're actually creating the painting at the same time. It's up to you. You can always prime, though, with a really, really thin bit of paint, the color you wish to put in the background of your painting. So I'll do a little bit of red here and a little bit of yellow ochre, like that, and I'll just mix it to kind of get about the mixture we're looking for. And we're going to use a lot of white, like that. So I'm just going to keep going until I feel like we have the right. Okay, and a little bit of blue and red to make a little bit of a violet. So now we have a little bit of violet here. Okay. And I think that's good. We have some violet and we have some yellow. Let's do a little bit of lemony yellow down this way here. So we'll go down to the bottom of our canvas here. And we'll get some more white. And we can leave that purple in there too. It's nice to just have those mixtures of colors. So that's kind of like our 3 bits of light glazing we're going to use on this first. Glazing around the backdrop of our flower painting. So I'll take the paper towels and I'll clean out my palette knife. I think I'll put my palette knife to the side right now. I think I'm going to use it right now anyway. And let's get our brush. Let's use a little bit of a larger brush here. I would say we'll use this larger filbert. This is a number 6 filbert, and it's a hot hair brush. I'll just dampen it up, the brush in some fresh clean water, and then we'll go in and we'll start just taking some light. Just some very, very light. Maybe some yellow. We'll mix some yellow in there too. So this is just a matter of having some fun, getting some backdrop in here. I wouldn't worry about little smudges of charcoal. I'm not going to worry about that too much. And again, this is super thin. Just a damp brush in some of these colors that we're mixing up here. And you can see it's kind of a pastel type of look to it, right? The colors are like light, warmer. It's pretty much a warmer kind of feel, but I have some purple here. I'll put that lavender type, purplish lavender over here. I'm looking at this. I'm using the photograph as my reference to what colors I'm going to be using here. And you can also take that lavender and put it over here. You can get some brush strokes kind of radiating out if you want to. That can look good. And then we'll just keep going here. There's some more purple down there. And yellow down on this table. So now we're at the basic bottom of the painting. We're at the area where there's shadows, some shadows. But this is a very, very thin, extremely thin wash of paint that we're doing right now. And the same colors are going to go right into the vase. Okay. Okay, that's not a problem if you have some of these gray bits of charcoal in your paint. You can keep layering your paint. The idea is always go thicker, go thin in the beginning when you're putting your paint on. Go thin with your paint to start with. and then you build up on top of your thin layer of paints the thicker paint, and then you cover over that, all of this. So this is just basically your very, very thin preliminary bit of glazing on top of your paper, and then we're going to go over with subsequent glazes on top of this. What we can do is also take a little bit of cerulean blue and phthalo green and maybe a touch of brown in there, just to maybe to just make it a little bit less intense. So we add a little bit of burnt umber to that cerulean blue and a little tiny bit of phthalo green, and that's green. And I want to maybe put a little bit of the green just in here, start to get some of the green and a little bit of green too in the background. So I want to have some green mixing throughout my painting as well, here and there. Not a lot, just a little bit. If you can get some little bits of green in the first thin glazing you're putting on to the canvas, that's going to go a long way, because it's going to harmonize the whole painting, the color scheme, and the colors of your painting. So if you put a little bit of green in there, it's going to look much better. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start by going in and getting some greens mixed up here. Let's do some more of that. Cerulean blue, phthalo green, burnt umber. We want to look for a really nice kind of, I would say, olive green. If we can make an olive green here. A little bit of yellow ochre. A little more yellow ochre there. And that's a pretty nice olive green. And then what we're going to do is start to make our leaf forms. And I would make these very quickly. The leaf forms, try to make them, have fun with this kind of, you want to, let's think like an impressionist painter. Maybe like Monet, someone like Claude Monet. He's painting with like very loose, fun brushstrokes. He's not painstakingly trying to accurately get everything in little by little. He's kind of getting things in to his painting with really nice brush strokes. So we're going to go right down into the vase here with some more leaf forms like this. And we're really going to have fun, and we're really not going to labor over this painting all that much. We're just going to, we'll get some interesting shapes and brush strokes, and this is the stems in the vase. And again, remember, we're learning how to paint in oils, so you can take your time, have fun with it. As you create your paintings. And I'm just trying to look at where these there we go. A little bit of that. So you can see I'm sort of building the greens, the darkest darks there, just to get those in. And once I have that, we're almost there. We're almost completed. So what we want to do now that we have that completed, we'll rinse off our brush again. We might work with the same brush that we are working with all the way through this painting. I think that's the best route to go. This might be another time, a good time to take a break. We did a lot of painting so far. We got all of our background colors in. You can blend in your background colors with a damp brush but you want to leave the brush strokes. You want to see those brush strokes on the canvas there. That's the good part about this. You want to see those brush strokes. So I'm going to leave those all in there, and we'll keep refining this as we go. But we're pretty much halfway there already. So the next thing we're going to do is take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll mix up colors for our roses, our white roses. We have some more smaller flowers in there too. Some like wildflowers, white wildflowers with some little bit of that lemony yellow kind of look to them that we can see. And we'll have to do some fine detailing too, just a little bit of that fine detailing with the, do some twigs and things like that and small stems and things. So we're going to finish up with that when we're kind of completing the painting. But you can already see that we have things really well underway here. I think all we need now is just to get the flowers in, the white roses and the white flowers and some of the stems up top here, and we should and a little more detail into the vase, and I think we'll have a completed painting. So let's take a break and we'll come right back. All right, so we're going to keep moving here. I think maybe we'll shift over to a little bit of a smaller brush here. Maybe I'll go with this round brush here. So you can see it's a decent amount smaller than this first brush we were using. So we'll use this one now. We'll start to get in some of these. I'm going to call this like a white, lemony white. It kind of has that lemon feel to it a little bit. These white roses, which is the light. And we're just going to start to put our flowers in there. And you kind of just try to, if you can imagine, you're trying to like look at the flower shape and then try to just have your brush do the same type of shape and movement that you would see and then you don't worry about it. If you start to have a color sort of from your green mix in there, just try to overpower it with some white. There is some green mixing in with some of these flowers, which is okay. The green color of the petals of some of these leaf forms sort of reflect into the white flowers. So you are seeing some green in the white flowers, as well as the yellow, the gold color, which is sort of the light that we see here. So, and again, I'm not going to labor over this too much and be really like, spend hours and hours. I'm just trying to get these flowers really looking good. And I think we are starting to get that feel of the flowers. And I notice I can get these smaller ones with this brush too. Like that. Have fun with this. So we're trying to get a mix of the smaller flower shapes here, petals. Over here there's some smaller petals and flowers, little small buds of flowers, roses and other small wildflower type shapes. And then up here there's some larger flowers. And these are roses up here, these white roses. And you can go thicker now since you have all of your thinner glazings of your oil paint done first. When you're getting towards the final parts of your painting, you can add really thick paint, thick oil paint right on top of that. And that's going to look fine. Okay, and I think there's even a couple small flowers within the bottom here that somehow got in there. And That's looking pretty good. And you can also ad-lib in a few things. Maybe there's a few buds here of flowers. You can add a few there. And again, I always mention, you're the artist. You can add things into your paintings, and you can also delete things out. So sometimes when you're working, you might say, I don't like something in that I'm looking at in a photograph, or if you have something on a photo, a picture on an iPhone, a computer, a tablet, your home computer, or a TV, or if you're outdoors working out in the backyard or on vacation, or if you're painting anywhere outdoors and you are looking at something and you want to draw and paint it and then start painting it, on location, you can always remove things out of what you're seeing. So if you have something that you're looking at, you can say, you know what, I'm not going to add into my painting those few things that I'm seeing in front of me because I want to make the composition more simple, to make it easier to paint. And it's going to look probably better too, maybe, perhaps. So you can add and delete where you want to when you're working with your artwork, so you don't feel like you have to get stuck in some kind of process where you always have to stick to what's exactly you see in front of you. You can always adjust things and make things, a little different, and you're making things work for you as you're painting your painting. So that's the goal anyway. Okay, so I'll go across there with the jar, so we feel like we see the jar, a little bit of the jar there going across, and over here too. So I'm just making some indications of the mason jar here, and we'll do a little bit of lines here going down across. So that's going to be the jar, just so we have a little bit of indications of a jar. And then we will also rinse our brush off. And what we'll do is, since we're going to rinse our brush off, we're going to pick up just a little bit of the purple here. And let's make a little bit, and we can see the charcoal back here. Let's make that line back here. Maybe a little bit of burnt umber with the purple, a little bit of the green, a little bit of the blue, maybe some blue. And we'll just make a little bit of a line across here for the back of the table. Like that. Make it a little darker there. Okay, so that's the back of the table. Not so, we don't see it too much inside the jar, the glass jar, but we could see it a little bit, I think, through here. So we'll leave that little bit of that line going through where the jar is, and we're really kind of getting things really, looking pretty good. We have some shadows over here. We might make the shadows a little darker, maybe a little more blue. A little more blue there. A little more red for the purple, blue and red. And let's get that there like that, and I think that looks pretty good. So for some of you can see the shadow here. And again, this is preferable, kind of doing these fast, getting the brush strokes in nicely, quickly. That's preferable than to really kind of trying to sit there and really, get too much involved in super detail and accuracy. If you can have some fun with the brush strokes, you'll see that in your painting. You can see when someone's had fun in their painting when they paint it. When they're done, if you see an artist and you look at the painting, you say, "Wow, that looks really good." It kind of looks, it looks like, I don't know, looks like lively and fun. That's because their brush strokes were fun and they were having a good time doing their painting. And in the same way, you can see a person, if they're doing a painting and they're taking their time and painstakingly trying to do maybe like every little exact detail to something like this, you'll see that too in a painting. It'll look sort of like, it'll kind of look like it's not lively, in a sense. So that the emotion that you paint with is the emotion that someone will feel when they look at your painting. So if you're having fun, getting your brush strokes on, that's going to look good. It's going to look lively, even if it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. But if the brush strokes are lively and you're having a good time, it's going to look good. and it's going to be lively in a sense, and that's what people are going to feel when they look at the painting. Versus, again, if you're trying too hard or you feel like you have to get every exact detail, that might not look as good. But you have to try all these things out. You're the artist. You're going to have to work on painting paintings and then looking at them and saying, well, I did this one really slow and accurate. How does that look, that painting? Or if I did this one really kind of more briskly and quickly and having some fun with it, how does that painting look when it's completed? And then you look at both of the paintings side by side, and then you decide which one do you think looks better. You might say, well, they look both the same. That's fine too. I don't know, but you're the person that has to look at your artwork and kind of critique your own artwork is what I'm saying. Critique your artwork all the time. Just look at it and say, oh, what looks better? What painting looks better? What am I going to do better next time? It's just all just practicing and having fun going along in the process of just learning and practicing and having a good time. So I think we're almost finished here. I think we'll put a few details. I'll use this paint brush here. This is a watercolor brush actually, which works fine with water mixable oils. So I'll go in and get the blue, cerulean blue, burnt umber, cerulean blue, touch of red, and I think that might be good for the green. Maybe just a little bit of French ultramarine blue. And let's see if we can get a few of these branches in here. Okay, and now you can see that this is really the only thing I'm seeing here is these branches need to be even thinner. So I might have to find another brush that's going to give me a little more details here. This one's a little bit, but these are okay right now. This is fine. We can get a little bit of a thicker bit of branches and twigs here like that. And then what we can do is rinse that brush off, set it to the side, and maybe we can find one more brush here. Maybe we'll try this one here. Let's see what we have here. All right, I'll try this one I was using the other day. This is a Princeton number 3 Aqua Elite. We'll take this one, and you can see it's quite a bit, has quite a bit more of a pointier tip on that. So let's see how that looks. That's better. I might even add a little bit of water into that just to get it a little thinner. Maybe if it's a little thinner, it might. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, there's a bit of shadow in the bottom of this jar like that. All right, I think we have a completed painting. Maybe we could do just a touch more inside here. I'll just mix up some of this here. That's too dark, so I'm going to rinse off my brush really well. I just want to get some of that. I want to feel like we could see a little bit of through the interior of this, the vase here. Like that. So that feels like if you put a little bit of the background color in the middle of this vase, it'll feel like you can see through the vase. Like it's kind of has a lattice feeling, like you can see through there. And that's a good thing. You probably don't want to make everything feeling like it's all lumped in one big clump of flowers and leaves forms. You want to maybe have it a little bit looking as if you could see through it a little bit. And then there's a little more, maybe there's another little bit of petals there like that with the white. We just put that in like that. And you could even take a few more bits of white with the yellow, the lemony yellow with white. A little bit of that lemon yellow and white. And maybe we could put a few little dabs of flowers on these, some of these here, like that. Just to have a little bit of something extra. Again, I'm adding in a few things that I don't necessarily see in this photograph that I have on my phone, but that's fine. So I hope you've enjoyed this. We've had such a great time. You can even go in if you wanted to make a little more dark here, darks maybe, with some cerulean blue, phthalo green, burnt umber, maybe a touch of the, just a little bit of the French ultramarine blue. We really didn't use a lot of French ultramarine blue in this painting, so that's why I wouldn't use a lot of it, maybe just to try to get this green here a little darker, maybe a little red in there too. And maybe you can add just a couple darks, perhaps in here, to, and we'll kind of do a little more burnt umber there, a little more French ultramarine blue, the green too, like that. But if we can get some more of that, some of that darker dark right in the, just a few spots here and there, a couple of darks, like we see there. You dab in a few of these little bit of darks, and that makes it feel like there's some shadows in there and things, some darker shadows, like that. If you can get those in, it's really helpful. And then maybe even a few over here too. Inside the vase, there are some darker bits like that. I don't think there's much more darks than that. So, again, great that we're painting together in oils. Well, let's keep working. We're making our videos here. I'm hoping you'll consider subscribing on the right hand side below if you want to see more videos like this. I'll keep making them. Leave comments. Let me know, how do you like the oil painting so far? Do you want to see some other subject matter we haven't covered? You'll notice that I do paint a lot of varied compositions and paintings, different subject matter. So I usually tend to mix up a lot of my I like to paint everything, because I feel like if you paint everything, it'll just broaden your knowledge of painting and drawing, and it'll help your confidence level if you're working in all different types of subject matter. So if you're just painting one thing like ocean scenes, or if you're just painting one thing like barns or things like that or something, you know, that might be, you can make them look great and you're more familiar with them. But if you can kind of round out your repertoire and try to work with a few different bits of subject matter, if you can, try to get comfortable with a few, let's say. So if you like flowers and like architecture, so maybe you like houses and barns and you like flowers, definitely do a lot more of those type of paintings. Do more of what you like, but also once in a while try some other stuff too that you might not necessarily want to do, but create, but you'll get a lot from it. You'll learn a lot about your painting skills and things like this, and it'll help your eye, your eye to be able to see shapes and forms better, and it'll help your colors, working with colors and your color selections and your palette, all these type of things. So the more the things you can kind of work on, the better, but definitely do paint more of what you like to paint. And that's what I do too as well. So you'll probably notice if you're watching my videos, and even I have many watercolor videos on my other channel. I definitely have done a lot of different things, but there are certain favorite things you will see I do a lot of. So in any case, great to have you here with us. We'll see you on the next video. And again, we're making videos once a week or once every other week. So you'll always see a video at least once every 2 weeks. Sometimes we'll do, we'll sometimes work at a pace of one oil painting every week. But sometimes, you know, I can't always, I have a lot of other things I'm working on right now, so I can't always get to that every week. But usually I'm going to try to do it. So hope you're enjoying, again, the videos, and we'll see you very soon, okay? Happy painting, everybody.